MG has been growing massively, and in August this year was the #2 selling electric vehicle manufacturer in the UK. It's not hard to see why when you look at the value its vehicles offer. The MG ZS EV, the MG5 and the MG4 all set new benchmarks in electric vehicle value. I'm not sure you can spot this vehicle behind me because it's a very discreet colour, but this is the new extended range version of the MG4. It sets yet another benchmark in electric vehicles. This is a great car. But before we tell you all the details, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you've seen the MG4 before, you've seen the MG4 Extended Range. It's a much more modern looking car than anything the company has sold in the UK before. The front looks fierce and futuristic. It's a little bit taller than your average hatchback, but doesn't cross over into crossover territory. See what I did there? It's a couple of centimetres longer and wider than a Volkswagen ID3, but 6 centimetres less tall. The proportions are just about right, although the back end is a little stubby. And oh, look what we have here, a rear windscreen wiper. MG has clearly listened to criticism and added these to the more recent models of MG4. So what else has changed with the MG4 Extended Range? Well, the clue is in the name. It's got a bigger battery. It's now 77 kilowatt hours instead of 64 kilowatt hours. That 77 kilowatt hour battery is about the same as a Model 3 long range from Tesla. That's allied with a 241 horsepower motor, up from 201 horsepower. There is also the X-Power with dual motors and over 400 horsepower, but we'll come back to that car in another video. The MG4 long range had 2 trim options, but the extended range only comes as a top trophy trim. There are barely any options either to choose from with the MG4 Extended Range. There are no options on the wheels, for example. They're 18-inch as standard. This rather unassuming paint choice is called Volcano Orange, although we like to call it Asbo Orange. There are also blue, white, red, grey and black alternatives. But we like this orange quite a lot. It's very subtle. But to save our eyes a little bit, let's take a look inside. There's no obvious difference between the extended range interior and other MG4s. You get this kind of cloth material in the middle, and this isn't real leather, although it's quite nice to the touch. This is the trophy interior, however, as that's the only trim level available with the extended range. The MG4 has a much more modern looking interior than other MGs we've reviewed, it's got fewer buttons and no dowdy analog dials in the instrument display. These seats are comfortable enough, and on the driver's side you get these electric adjustments, but there's no memory function, and the passenger seat is entirely mechanical. This low central console adds to the sense of space in the front. Under this door is quite a shallow cubby, and then you've got this, you could maybe put some documents there, maybe a menus for your local takeaway there. There's a couple of cup holders here as well. In front of these cup holders you've got a Type A, a Type C, and this is the 12-volt car adapter for power. And as this is a trophy trim, you also get this wireless charging space as well. And there's another cubby here at the back of the central console. There's a reasonably sized glove compartment. You could put a couple of pairs of driving gloves in there, or even a couple of bags of Monster Munch. Space in the back is surprisingly decent considering this car is a bit lower than an ID3. Headroom is okay, knee room is okay. I think if you're up to 6 foot as an adult, you'll be okay in the back of here. One thing you don't have is a sunroof, which is why I'm looking quite dull in this picture. Which is strange because this two-tone paint job shows that there's clearly an inset for one in the roof. Another thing you don't get is an armrest from this central seat. However, that could be a positive thing for some people because that makes this a little bit more comfortable for somebody sitting in the middle, though this seat is quite narrow, so it's probably really only for a child. Speaking of which, you get ISOFIX points for the 2 outer rear seats. Another omission is air vents for passengers in the back, although you do get a single USB port. Since you've got these 2 pockets for your rear passengers to put their phones in, they're going to be fighting over that one USB port. There's also a decently sized seat back pocket for your kids to put their copies of The History of Morris Garages, or whatever it is kids read these days. Boot space is on par for a hatchback. You get 363 litres here in the back. Unfortunately, there isn't enough space under here for you to put your car charging cable, so they have to sit on the top here. All you've got space for is a few emergency items such as a tyre inflator and a hazard triangle. So that boot space is about 22 litres less than an ID3, so not terrible, certainly on par with the market. If you remove this, which isn't that hard, although it's a little bit of cheap construction there, you can drop these seats forward with a typical 60-40 arrangement, and this expands it to 1165 litres, which is 102 litres less than an ID3. Again, pretty much on par for a hatchback, and you know the ID3 is quite top of the range there. So you can also see that it's a flat boot, so this is a decent amount of space. This car can also tow up to 500 kilograms, braked or unbraked, which is enough for a small trailer. So overall, you've got enough space with the seats up for a weekly shop, for a short trip with the family, and if you put the seats down, you could maybe get a small item of furniture from IKEA, so generally quite a flexible boot space. The big news, obviously, with the extended range is the size of the battery. You get 74.4 kilowatt hours usable from that 77 kilowatt hour battery. That provides a combined WLTP range of 323 miles. During my test driving, I managed to get 3.8 miles per kilowatt hour when driving around the city, and when I jumped onto a motorway, around 3.2 miles per kilowatt hour. So that would equate to a real world range of a little over 280 miles in the city, and close to 240 miles of motorway driving, which is a pretty good comparison with a long range Model 3, although the Highland version is going to go a little bit further than that. There's DC charging up to 144 kilowatts, giving a 10 to 80% bump in 39 minutes. Home AC charging at 7 kilowatts will take a little over 10 hours to hit 100%. That motorway range and the decent DC charging means that this car is more than capable of long journeys. This car also supposedly supports vehicle to load, which means you can attach an adapter to this port and have charging for external devices, but they didn't supply us with that, so we can't show you that. As we said, MG has modernised the look of the control system in the MG4, but it's still a fairly conventional set of controls. The steering wheel has these kind of joystick-like controls, one on each side. This one is primarily focused on the cruise control, and this one is more about media, although you can also control some menu functions with it. So you've got a phone. This one operates the menu for the display, which we'll show you in a second. This is a favourite button, which you can configure for various things. This one is normally configured to turn this into a control for your air conditioning, which is quite useful. That one's for cruise control, and that's for the voice operation functions. You get conventional stalks, including the left-hand side one for indicators and lights, and the right-hand one is for the windscreen wipers, including that rear one. You turn the system on by pushing the brake pedal like a Tesla, and then this knob here controls drive, reverse, neutral in the middle, and then you press the button here for park. There is also a separate electric parking brake, but since the park does that job for you automatically, you don't necessarily need it. There is also auto hold on by default. You do need to press the brake pedal a little once you've come to a halt to engage that. However, there is also a one pedal driving mode that you can configure in the menu. There's no semblance of analog dials, not even digital simulations on the 7-inch instrument panel. You get ADAS information on the left, speed, remaining range, and a few other indications in the middle, and then this is a trip meter by default, but you can actually also change it to various things. You can change it to different types of trip meter, or you can have sat nav information, you can have settings, you can have your music controls there, tyre pressure, so lots of different things that you can put there. And you can see here that 54% is still allegedly going to give you 150 miles, which is going to be cause for jealousy with other EV owners. So you've got all these buttons, you've got some volume controls, hazards, and you've got the important buttons for turning on rear and front window demisters. But if you actually want the air conditioning, most of those controls are in the 10.25 inch infotainment display. So you'll notice that you've got heated seats on this car and a heated steering wheel, and these buttons are fairly easy to use, and of course you've got the steering wheel functions for main things like fan speed as well. The infotainment was one area where MG certainly lagged behind its competitors, and they have improved that with each new car, and with the MG4 it's almost at the same level as other car makers. So you can see you've got a screen which by default has all its widgets on it. You can see it obviously supports CarPlay and Android Auto. Since this has got live services, you've got the weather forecast there, which is quite handy. The sat nav, which is quite decent. You can see it's a little bit slow. You can go through recents, favourites, you can find EV chargers and parking, or you can add a keyword or via postcode there, which is quite handy. And it's got live traffic as well because it's connected. You know, you've got your charging controls there. Didn't mean to do that. Radio is available. It's an DAB radio, all these different settings. You've got the, you can have a look at the 360-degree camera. See there's somebody creeping up on us there. We spotted her. If you go through car settings, however, this is another area that's much better designed than on previous MGs. You can change the drive modes. You can see you've got snow, eco, normal, sport, and you can customize different levels of energy recovery. You can go for adaptive there. That's that one pedal drive mode, energy saving. MG Pilot is the kind of grab bag, which we'll talk about when we get to safety a bit later in this video. We've got all the different functions, and there's a whole bunch of them now. They've really improved that as well. Convenience, lighting, and a separate safety function, which is actually just about the auto hold and turning the car off. When I tested the first MG4 at the launch last year, I was really impressed. The rear wheel drive provided an engaging experience, even if the straight line acceleration wasn't that fast. The extended range is even better. Although this car is 63 kilograms heavier than the long range, the extra motor power means you can hit 62 miles per hour in 6.5 seconds, and you can hit 60 miles per hour in 6.1 seconds. That's proper hot hatch quick. Even if the dual motor X power is in a totally different league, hitting 60 miles per hour in 3.7 seconds. Do you really need that in a family hatchback? Of course not, but you probably want it. That said, the extended range is probably quick enough for most people. It has plenty of grunt for A-road overtaking or getting away from petrol cars from the lights. It handles just as well as the original MG4. The steering is light but precise. The MG4 also feels planted and confident on motorways, although the lane departure warning is a little intrusive. It's a fun car to drive, which you'll grow to love very quickly. However, the ride quality could be smoother. That's the one black mark against it. One good thing is that MG has been steadily improving its safety tech. The original MG4 has a 5-star Euro NCAP rating, which presumably carries over to this model as well. MG Pilot now includes adaptive cruise control with traffic stop and go. There's also speed limit assistance with road sign recognition. You get active emergency braking, auto main beams, and blind spot detection. You can see it appearing on the wing mirror here. For those who need help with their lane etiquette, there's lane keep assist and lane change assist. The latter is an extension of blind spot detection. Rear cross traffic alert will warn you if somebody's going behind you when you're backing out of a parking spot. The range is the key upgrade with this new extended range MG4 model. But the biggest surprise is how little you pay for it. MG has priced the exceptionally quick MG4 X Power and the extended range at the same price of 36.5 grand. That is 10 grand more than the standard range version of the MG4, which remains the EV bargain of the market. If you wanted a similar range from a car from the Volkswagen group, you'd pay up to £8,000 more. You also pay more from Hyundai and Kia for less range. The basic Tesla Model 3 also provides less range, and that costs £6,000 more. The MG4 Extended Range isn't quite the outstanding value of the MG4 Standard Range SE, but with great performance available, this is still the most keenly priced car with over 300 miles WLTP. So let's have a look at that 360-degree reversing camera. Quite a decent view. Certainly helps. I would point out though that it's a little bit luminescent in the dark, but you've got the 360 view as well, which can help you get into a parking space or into a side road like this. And it stays on screen as we go the other direction now. MG has done it again. The MG4 was the bargain of 2022, and now you're starting to see lots of them on British roads. The extended range builds on that with enough miles to compete with the best on the market. Combine that with solid performance and handling and increasingly good tech, and you've got the complete package. For the money, this is the best EV currently available in the UK. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to our YouTube channel.